shop. Now, presumably you have your drawings or your assets in place, and we should be ready to go. Now, I'm going to do this in Photoshop, but just as easily, you could be using Illustrator artwork, and you could copy that into this document. All right, so I'm going to create a new document, and the document I'm going to create is going to be 2,000 pixels by 2,000 pixels. All right, now this is an important number because it's a square shape. Now your resolution can be 144, that's quite fine. As long as this size is a square, we're in good shape, and off we go. All right, so I haven't got a drawing offhand, so I might just go and find something from my desktop. Excuse me while I do that. I'll go and find a little graphic or something that I might have lying on my desktop, and you would have had one potentially already prepared. What have I got here on my desktop? Not a great deal. Maybe I'll just open a file. This might be good. Here's just an Illustrator file. Of course, yours will obviously be different. You might have constructed this artwork in Illustrator. You may have constructed it in Photoshop. The same goes. So I'm just going to grab something here. It really doesn't matter what it is. There is my graphic. I'm going to select that bit of artwork, copy that in to drawing, and I'm going to copy that back to Photoshop and paste that in, and I'm just going to paste that in as pixels. And there it is right there. So I might just scale that guy up. Beautiful. So I've got my first drawing in. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to need to repeat this pattern in this little piece of artwork that we have here. And there's a filter that we can use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a filter, and the filter that I'll be applying is this filter right at the very bottom here called Offset. And I'm going to click that. Here we go. Now, as you can see, it does this little weird offsetty thing by me changing these sliders, and I can arrange these like I'd like. Now, when we set this document up, we set it up at 2,000 pixels by 2,000 pixels. I'm going to change these numbers to 1,000 and 1,000. And you'll find that it sort of does all four corners, or it sort of maps, or it tiles in all four corners. And I'm pretty much going to leave it like that. And I'm going to say, okay. Now, when we do that, Photoshop's done its best to sort of tile that area here. But as you can see here, I've got this little blue sort of edge of my layer here that's extended beyond. I'm going to need to drag that in just to make sure, and I'm going to hold shift so I'll be able to resize it both ways. And just making sure that that actually lines up into my shape and square, so forth. So that looks pretty good right now. Oops, missed that little bit. Anyway, just making sure that this sort of layer edges are perfect. Then I hit return, and that should be my four. That should be my that should be a pattern. All right. So I'm actually just going to bring another little piece of artwork in, just to fill up this central area. You do want it tiling off to the edges like this. This is a good thing. So I might just go back to Illustrator and grab another element from my artwork. Of course, you'll have your own artwork and whatever that might be. Maybe I'll grab that one. And again, this artwork is not actually specific for anything at all, but it's just I just have it lying around on my desktop. So I can pop that back into Photoshop and go okay, and there it is there. That's my second piece of artwork on my pattern. Beautiful. I might just put that there. Now I could leave it at that and I'm done. I could leave it at that, and that will be able to render out as a pattern. But what I want to do is actually fill up these areas here. This is a bit of a gap in my pattern. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply that filter again. So filter, offset, just like before. And this time you can see it's mapping into the corners. So, but I don't actually want that, do I? So I'm going to change that number to 0, which is quarter. And now it's mapping to the top. Maybe I'm going to change that to back to 1,000. Again, these are half numbers of my total size, and that looks like that is good to me. So you can see those numbers are half of my overall 2,000 pixel document. Just remember halves. Okay, I'm good to go. And again, just double check with that guy there, if you can see right here. It's not perfect, so I'm going to hold shift and just bring it in so that it actually lines up perfectly. Hitting return to accept your transformation, zooming away, and now we've got something that's going to pattern perfectly, we hope. So what I might do is I might just put something in the middle. This, of course, is just to fill up the gaps. And again, this could be anything. Again, I'm just going to grab stuff. Maybe I'll grab this big old guy here and copy that and pop that into my document just right about in the middle, so I can just fill that up a little bit. And anything that's in the middle really doesn't matter. You know, you're just filling in the gaps at this point. Return. I might duplicate that. Command J, duplicate that. Just filling in my gaps. So I don't want to go up there. That will result in a bad tile. That's pretty good. So I'm just filling in the gaps at this point. Hitting return. So now we've got something that should ultimately pattern properly. And once we've got everything sort of tiling like we like, we're going to go to the edit menu and we're going to define a pattern, just like that. So that's your guy right there. Boom, pattern made. And we can call that whatever you'd like to call it. Mine's called pattern money. Okay, that'll do me. Okay, good. Pattern made. Now we'd like to apply it to something. So it's saved, the pattern's saved in my document. It's there forever. I can use it anytime I like and in any way that I like. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this very quickly. I'm going to go and find something that I want to apply my pattern to. So maybe I'm going to look for a t-shirt today. So, whoops, t-shirt or a cup or something quite plain. That's going to work quite well. You want it to be a white t-shirt. I imagine that's going to work the best. And just perhaps that might be perfect for what we need. Okay, I'm going to bring that into Photoshop and pop that straight into my new document. And this size here will always be the same size as the thing that you last copied. It's the clipboard. So I can go ahead and create that. Beautiful. And paste that image directly in. Beautiful. Once we have that in, we're going to map our pattern to this t-shirt. Now, I'm going to do that with a quick selection tool, something like this, and just pick that up, just a bit like that. Okay, so I've got videos on how to use this tool as well if you're keen. So I'm just going to refine that selection a little bit. Now, I'm going to pop that into there, but I'm just going to give it a little bit more contrast, just so I can get a little bit more bite in my graphic. So a really good way to apply contrast very quickly is to use levels. Command L, levels, Command L, bang. And you can see that we have this visual representation of the tonal information. So I can just pull that in. As you can see, when I do this, I can just get a little bit more contrast into the image that I want. That looks good to me. Okay, so I've increased the contrast. Not strictly speaking an entirely necessary step, but sometimes having a little bit more contrast makes the end result just look a little bit more convincing. Cool, cool, cool. So now we have our selection, and now we need to apply our pattern. So we've made our pattern. So I'm going to jump into this thing called adjustment layers, and it's a little circle down the bottom of the layers panel. It's a circle that's half black and half white, and that's an adjustment layer. So I'm going to apply one of those. I'm going to click that guy there, and I'm looking for this one called pattern. And that's my guy right there. Pattern, boom. Now, I can sort of see my pattern here. It's a little bit big, but that's fine. when I have this floating dialog box out here, I am actually able to move this shape in and around my selection, and so I can sort of position it. I can also reduce the scale of this thing, so maybe I want it to be slightly smaller, or whatever size sort of works for you. That looks good to me. Okay, just positioning it the way you like it, and I can see my pattern's working really well. That tile there's no gaps, there's no sort of funny sort of things in it. It sort of looks like it patterns properly. So whatever your pattern size wants to be, say okay to that. Okay, and the very final step to this might be that you apply a blending mode. So at this point in time, my colours are very flat over the piece of selection or the t-shirt. I'm going to apply this thing called a blending mode, and that's just going to make the thing look a little bit more convincing, a bit more harmonious. So clicking into that, and I think multiply is a pretty good go-to for this kind of thing. So this blending mode called multiply is going to work pretty well for me. Okay, so that's our creation of patterns, and that's applying it to whatever object that it is that you're after. Look, I hope that helps. Okay, guys, I'll see you in class.